What's growing on, gardeners? It's Sunday, October 17th, and it's a gorgeous day here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. Today I wanted to discuss with you what is probably the #1 source of confusion when it comes to growing food, and that is what a named variety of a fruit tree or vegetable is, and also why you probably shouldn't be growing your fruit trees from seed. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated. I'm extremely thankful for every single person out there that takes time to watch my videos, and I do my best to read every single comment out there that everyone leaves for me, and I try my best to answer them all. And when I read these comments, I've realized over the years that there is a significant source of confusion that stems around what a fruit tree variety is, or what a vegetable variety is, or a cultivar as you may call it. Most people don't understand what they are, and they don't understand how they're made, and I want to clear that up. And in order for me to clear that up, one of the things that needs to be understood is what's the difference between an open pollinated and a cross pollinated or hybridized seed or fruit tree variety. An open pollinated variety is nothing more than a variety of a fruit or a vegetable that has the ability to pollinate itself. For example, we've probably all heard of open pollinated tomatoes. A flower on a tomato contains both the male and female part of the tomato. So when a simple gust of wind comes along and it shakes up that tomato flower, it mixes the male pollen all over the female parts, and the tomato winds up pollinating itself. In this case, the mother and the father are the same. So if you were to plant that seed on an open pollinated tomato, it would grow to be an identical clone of that plant. And that is because it's an open pollinated variety. It pollinated itself. It's basically inbred with itself. Now, this only holds true for varieties of tomatoes that have been stabilized, like your heirloom varieties or your varieties that have been sold to you as open pollinated, because the lineage has been stable. You can't do that with an F1 hybrid or a recently hybridized tomato, because that tomato has not yet been stable. And I'll tell you all about them now. So when we talk about hybridized tomatoes or hybridized vegetables or hybridized fruit trees, all that means is they are a result of cross-pollination. So if I have one variety of tomato right here, and then next to it I have another variety of tomato right here, if a bee flies from this flower and then it flies to that flower, it is transferring the pollen from one variety to another. So the male winds up being a different parent than the female. So all of the seed on that tomato that will grow from the cross-pollinated variety will be a unique new variety. So if that tomato produces 1,000 seeds and I plant all 1,000 seeds, each of those plants will be a unique cross between the mother and the father, just like a human child would be. If a mother and a father has 10 children, every single child would be some unique hybrid of their mother and their father. They'd be a cross. Children are basically cross-pollinated, and some may resemble the father more than the mother, some may resemble the mother more than the father, but ultimately every single child is a unique seedling, if you will, that's a cross between a mother and the father. So that's all a hybrid is. It's the most natural form of production. It's the most natural form of reproduction out there. It's nothing more than cross-pollination of the same species, but two different unique genetic types, just like humans, just like cats, just like dogs, just like pretty much every other animal. So right in front of me here is my Owari Satsuma citrus tree. Now, citrus are almost all self-fertile, meaning they can pollinate themselves, and their flowers are similar to a tomato in the sense that they contain the male and female parts in the same flower. So all they need to be is shaken up by some wind, and then the male pollen coats the female flower, and then they fruit. So citrus are able to self-pollinate. So on this citrus tree, all of these fruits are more than likely a result of self-pollination. However, when you actually buy citrus at a grocery store, citrus are grown in commercial orchards where there is probably numerous varieties planted around them. So what's really happening is the bees are flying from point A to point B, and they're pollinating all of the trees with each other. So when you actually buy citrus from a grocery store, there's an extreme probability that they were not self-pollinated and that they were cross-pollinated. So one thing that I see all the time is people will grow avocados from seed in a grocery store. They'll plant a Hass avocado. They'll think they're going to get a Hass avocado. They'll plant a Meyer lemon. They think they're going to get Meyer lemon seedlings. They're going to plant an Owari Satsuma seed. They think they're going to get an Owari Satsuma. And that's just not going to happen in most cases, because the overwhelming majority of these have been grown in fields where they have been cross-pollinated by wind or cross-pollinated by bees. So when you buy varieties from a grocery store, you are almost certainly going to get some kind of weird, unique, cross-pollinated hybrid that is not going to resemble the parent much and is probably of low quality. And this is the most important thing to understand. This is precisely why when you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you want a named variety of an apple tree or a cherry tree or a peach tree, they're all grafted. That's because you have to make a clone of the mother tree in order to maintain an exact DNA match. So what you do is you take a cutting called scion wood from the mother and you graft it onto rootstock, and you allow that scion wood to grow and become the tree, because that is how you clone. All named varieties are a clone of a mother tree, and you either need to graft them or root the scion wood in order to maintain that exact DNA match. What you need to understand is, with named cultivars, named varieties of fruits and vegetables that you buy from the grocery store, there was only ever one of them ever created as a result of breeding programs. And what do I mean by that? I'm sure that you've all heard of the Red Delicious apple. Well, there was only ever one Red Delicious apple that was grown from seed ever. It was a result of either a wild chance seedling or a purposeful breeding program selecting specific mothers and fathers to get a desired result. And what happened was, a farmer named that tree Red Delicious. They thought it was an astounding variety, and every single Red Delicious tree in the history of the world, planted everywhere, has all been a clone of that one tree. So let's use figs as an example here. All of these figs are named varieties. They're very specific varieties grown. Every single one of these was propagated by cutting, which is what you do to clone fruit trees. So when you see grafted trees, when you grow from cutting, when you root cuttings, you're making a clone of a parent tree. So this tree right here, which is Violette de Bordeaux, this tree right here is very popular. You'll find it all over the place. There was only ever one Violette de Bordeaux seedling that was ever created. And what happened was, somebody took cuttings from that tree, and then more trees were propagated from those cuttings, and they multiplied. People shared those cuttings and shared those cuttings. So every single Violette de Bordeaux tree in the history of the world was an exact clone that can be traced back to one single source. And that goes for all of these named varieties right here. They're all cuttings propagated that were shared over generations. So let me bring you into my fig breeding program right here to show you the dichotomy. If you've been following my fig breeding program, you'll know that all of these right here are fig seedlings. And in order to make these, I got myself a male fig tree, and I manually cross-pollinated select female fig trees, and I got these seedlings. So all of these seedlings are unique children. Just like human beings that have kids, every single child is going to be a unique cross between the mother and the father, and ultimately random. It's the same thing with these fig trees. Every single one is genetically unique and will produce different fruit that may resemble the mother and father more than the others. So they're all going to be random. Same thing with all these fig seedlings here. And that is how you develop fruit tree varieties. That is how you develop tomato varieties, pepper varieties. You make purposeful selections of a specific mother and a specific father. You manually cross-pollinate them just like a bee would, flying back and forth to flower and flower, and then you grow out the seedlings, and then you grow them out into maturity, and then you select a handful of them for naming that you think are good. And that is how you breed. That is how much work it takes to come up with a new variety of apple or citrus or a new variety of avocado. And most of these fruit trees, they take 7 to 10 years to fruit. So if I wanted to come up with a nice new variety of an apple, I would have to select two parents, two mothers, and a mother and a father of whose traits I really enjoyed that I think would mesh well together, manually cross-pollinate them in a controlled environment to be sure that they're not being cross-pollinated by another variety. So you kind of have to grow them in like a hoop house to keep bees out so you can manually control the cross. Then you need to plant 100 seeds or 1,000 seeds, and then you wind up with 100 seedlings or 1,000 seedlings, and then you have to grow out those hundreds of seedlings for 7 to 10 years until they finally fruit, and then you need to test that fruit once they reach maturity to see how good the fruit really is. And then maybe after growing out hundreds of seedlings for 10 years, you may come out with 3 to 5 trees that produce exceptional fruit that are good enough to rival what's already been created in a grocery store. And that is how hard breeding is. That is how it's done. That's how much time it takes. And it's just like breeding children. It's like trying to come out with an Olympian athlete or an Olympic athlete or a professional athlete. You have to breed 10,000 children before you come up with one that's good enough to play in the NFL or the MLB. You need 1 million children until you come out with a track superstar. And it's just like that with breeding trees. You're trying to come out with some kind of exceptional cross, an exceptional tomato, an exceptional apple, an exceptional orange. And that's just what it takes. So this is really just a stream of consciousness video that I wanted to make that can hopefully help shed some light on how new cultivars and varieties of fruits and vegetables are made, how much work it is, and why you just can't go to a grocery store and plant an apple seed or an orange seed or a lemon seed and get the desired result. Chances are you'll wind up with something very low quality because the varieties that are actually propagated and shared across the world, they are the best of the best. They're the ones that have been selected over generations. They are the Olympic athletes of the fruit tree kingdom or the vegetable kingdom. All of these amazing cultivars that have made it, that have become daily words, or that have become words in our daily lexicon, like the red delicious apple, or the Fuji apple, or the Gala apple. You know, they're all some of the best, and they don't resemble the wild type of the ancient apple. They're so much better, they're so much sweeter, they're so much less seedy because they have been bred over generations, and countless man-hours have been put into developing these high-quality fruits that wouldn't otherwise arise from nature. So when you plant that lemon seed from the grocery store, it's a really cool experiment, but chances are you're going to get some kind of more resembling a wild type fruit that is low in sugar, high in pith, has a lot of seeds. So it's why I generally don't spend my time growing out grocery store seeds, because you're probably just not going to get a good result out of a natural cross like that. So this video is a bit more atypical of the videos that I usually make. I usually try to make them more organized and these stream of consciousness style videos, but I just wanted to take a little bit of time and hope clear up to you why fruit trees turn out the way they are, or why we propagate from cutting, or why we grow from seed, and what the differences between all of those things are, and how they can turn out very differently. And it's really good to draw a comparison between growing fruit tree varieties and children, because it's really similar, because after all, human beings are a result of cross-pollination. So that's the difference between what a hybrid or a cross is and what an open pollinated result can yield you. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button and ring that notification bell so you're notified when we release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products I use in my garden, they're all linked down below in my Amazon storefront, Also, check out the spread shop for merch. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Dale caught a possum tonight. He's the protector. He had so much fun. It's taken us an hour to get him to calm down. Dale, settle down. Settle.